Hey everybody, how you doing? Great, happy Memorial Day to everybody. I'm not gonna get too tied up in pleasantries and sidetracks, except to say that congratulations to Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning for beating Phil Mickelson and the hated Tom Brady. And then on top of that, it is my pleasure to introduce my friend uh, who has stuck with me in a way through thick and thin, as they say. Raider Mac, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm all right, Zenny. How about yourself? How you doing?
I am fantastic. I have no complaints, as they say, except
Good.
that for some particular reason, my StreamYard decided it was going to be blurry. So maybe we can. It's not the StreamYard. There it is. I got it. Okay. I put my hand in front of the camera like that, and just caused the lens to recalibrate like that, and we have a clear photo. We have a clear picture. So,
Okay.
let's talk because you and I talked off camera, and you were kind enough to call me, and I appreciate that. Uh, and we were talking about all the fake news that had just been showered on us, even through the pandemic, and regarding the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas called Allegiant Stadium. Let me get this out of the way. The stadium is beautiful, no question about it. I'm not talking about that. But, well, you tell us what you heard, Raider Matt.
Okay. Basically, I'm gonna try to give it to you through the eyes of nobody else. That only I can see it because basically, I would be a Raider fan who is down from Oakland, that's down in Vegas, surrounded by a lot of people who are Vegas Raider fans, and basically, it's a nah type of thing, and we got it. You guys screwed up, and we got the Raiders, and we got your jewel, and we're Raider fans. We're the real Raider fans. But as far as the stadium goes, it's big. It's beautiful. I've seen it from its inception. I don't know how they're gonna do with the traffic and all that, but you have people that are there, and they I could say maybe about 80%, 70% of the people, they're just happy to see the Raiders. They're happy to get a team and the team they're getting. But the thing is that they're just going to put on a hat and a jacket, and they're Raider fans. And anybody knows that's not how the way it goes.
No.
So I sort of keep silent, and I don't argue with anybody. You can go into grocery stores and you can go to their Albertsons and Smiths, and they'll have Raider, you know, beer and Raider, all sorts of emblems and advertisements and Big Fives and all the stores, and it's really great. But they're really getting a real gem, and so I just keep silent about it, and I say, okay, that's all it takes is a hat. But then the sad part is that you're going somewhere and you're not gonna have a home field advantage. You're
Mm.
not gonna have that crowd, and I
Mm-hmm.
see it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not where I am jaded or mad or vengeful or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. No, and talk
I'm just looking at it through those eyes. Go ahead.
right here. Now I was going to
Oh,
say,
go ahead, Zane.
oh yeah, I was going to say, can you talk about your unique background with the Raiders because you've been a long time. I think we lost Raider Mac. Let me get him back here. Raider, Raider Mac.
All right, back again. Back again.
Yes,
Yes.
and we
Okay.
lost you there. Yeah. Can you
No
talk
problem.
about your unique history with the team because you're a long time, I believe it's your family too, if I'm not mistaken, season ticket holders, right?
Yes, I even have a couple cousins that play for the team, and
Oh,
yeah, Giant Lee Higgins.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So there you go. There's one of them. But the other thing is that yeah, you can grow up in the Bay Area just like yourself, and the A's are winning, and they're going to World Series, and the Raiders were always in the championship, the conference championships, and then they won a Super Bowl. First Super Bowl, and I was a little itty bitty guy when that happened, but I could say when I was a little kid, very, very small. My father used to take me to the game, and I look at the score, and I would say, I'm only standing next to his knee or whatever, and I say, hey, can we go home? The game is over. He says, no, no, not yet. I says, well, it's like a minute left to go. And then all of a sudden, the snake would throw a bomb,
Yep.
and then everything would just go erupt in noise and people cheering. And I couldn't see. I knew something happened, and we won. So I was able to see that, and I was able to grow up with that, and then I was able to leave. See them when they left, and I was able to see them when they came back. But I'm not too much as I'm not bitter about this. Just I'm looking at how the NFL operates and things like that, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I'll just leave it at that.
I think for me, the way Mark handled it was such that he deliberately pitted people against each other and didn't need to do that. And
True.
that is something that I think the Raider organization is going to regret. They didn't have to do that. In fact, it's really a statement of disrespect to people who were fans that they are so, if you will, low to the Raiders now. In other words, so worthless that rather than sell them on it, okay, rather than sell them and say, hey, you know what? We understand you're upset. We are, even doubters, we understand you're upset. Mark would, a number of occasions, get in people's face and argue with them.
Hmm.
And he did that with Godfather Grizz. There's a video of him doing that.
Yes.
He did,
Yes.
right? He's done that with
Yes.
Lauren Piper. There's a video of him doing that. Lauren Piper is a long time. Lauren Piper must be close to 90, and he is arguably the oldest living Raiders season ticket holder. Uh, and Mark just treated him really inappropriately. He didn't need to do that to Lauren at all. And these are, because of social media, these are actions that are going to live on forever. It's not like the days before social media where they can get away with that and there was nothing to capture them being boorish. Not that the Raiders were to fans. In fact, that's the whole point of it. The Raiders didn't treat people like that. Even I remember when they moved to Los Angeles, they didn't basically turn around and if you will, spit on the collective lap of Oakland fans. It was leaving because Al Davis felt that he was wronged by the league. It was an entirely different situation. Mr. Davis felt that he had a right to pursue the best market for the organization.
True.
I remember at the time vividly how uh, Oakland Mayor Lionel Wilson, who I to this day love and respect and admire, didn't really take seriously what Mr. Davis wanted to do because, hey, look, the mayor of Oakland had Pete Rozelle, the NFL commissioner, behind him. So it was quite literally Al versus the NFL. And Al was under the impression that he could get pay per view money. And that's what precipitated the court battle, which he prevailed. Now, what he didn't realize was that as much as Al Davis may have had issues with George Vukasin, and he did, and the Coliseum Board, which was a private board at the time, boy, the LA County Coliseum Commission was 10 times worse. Okay? 10 times worse.
Yeah.
He didn't get the suites he was promised. He didn't get the pay-per-view he was promised. And on top of all that, after I think the first 3 years down in LA, they started performing terribly, and it wasn't the same. And Davis knew it. It wasn't like the '70s games that I went to and you went to, where the Raiders would bring in like the Houston Oilers, which we now call the Tennessee Titans, and Dan Pastorini was the quarterback. But we all went to see Earl Campbell. We went to see the Tyler Rose. Man, I mean, and the question was, hey, can the Raiders stop the Tyler Rose? But the real question was, could the Oilers' 3-4 defense stop the Raiders' deep passing attack? And the answer was no.
No.
No. And I remember Dan Pastorini came out. Everybody thought, oh man, he's going to kill us with that passing game, that deep arm, and he had the cannon arm, and it didn't happen. I was at that game. There are a countless number of games where we were behind, and we didn't at that point. The idea of losing to the Chiefs was sacrilege. We didn't lose to the Chiefs,
True.
during the '70s and the '80s. It was kind of like, huh?
Hatfield and McCoy. Hatfield
Yeah,
and McCoy.
exactly. I mean, we didn't lose. The Broncos. Now, I was there in 1977 for the rise of the Broncos and the Denver Broncos Orange Crush defense. I was
Orange
there.
Crush.
I
Yeah.
was there. It was their signature game against the Raiders at the Coliseum. Denver beat us with their 3-4, and Lalo Zato was the nose tackle. Ken Stabler was sacked 8 times. The Raiders were intercepted, I believe, 3-4 times. It was a disaster, man. I wanted to cry. I was at the game. And that's when I realized, you know what? New kid on the block. New kid on the block. And sure enough, they went all the way to the Super Bowl where they got crushed by, well, they crushed, but they were beaten soundly by the Dallas Cowboys 27-10. But the Raiders were always in it. They're always in contention. And the Coliseum and the Black Hole was the home. And what happened was that Mark, by flirting with the idea first of moving, by not at really any time over the from 2011 to when they finally, quote, left, unquote, did Mark fully embrace the Raiders of the Coliseum. He just didn't. He was in Palm Springs, you know what I'm saying, every place. But I want you to share something talking about Las Vegas with me and the listeners here and viewers that you heard a person say in Vegas about that really got you riled up about the fake news that's out there.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, you fly into Vegas, and right now, because of this pandemic that's going on, you can pretty much go in and out. But then you'll get a Lyft driver and Uber driver, what have you, and it's no problem. And a lot of people are transplants. They're from different parts of the country, maybe different parts of the world. And so, you try to strike up some conversation on your ride. And there was this one lady, and she, saying, well, I said, what do you think about the Raiders? He says, oh yeah, we're gonna get a football team. And the first thing that she says is that Oakland didn't want to build them a stadium. Oakland's too cheap. And I'm like, it's almost the first name that come to mind is Zenny. It's almost like Zenny. I equate him to Noah's Ark. He's telling people, hey, this is going to happen. You need to prepare. You need to get right. You need to do this. And people are saying, oh, he's crazy. He's a crazy madman. He's throwing this. He's throwing that. He hates it. He's spiteful, whatever, however you want to call it. He's jealous and things like that. And they put that spin on it. He's a crackpot, whatever. But the deal is that, you can't, the truth is going to prevail. Like you said, people can lie. Numbers don't lie. And the one thing is that you always put the numbers out there. Now, as far as the lady goes, I had to tell her, I said, that's not a story at all. Basically, the Raiders, they wanted to hold Oakland hostage, for, that to stay there. And the deal is that the premise of them coming back to Oakland that I know is that they were going to rebuild and build another stadium on that site. That was the premise of them coming there. And then, finance had come into play, and the Alameda and Oakland had come into play, and things went wayward. But, she doesn't know.
I remember exactly what happened. Oh, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you hear this all the time, and I try to tell people, even because I run across a lot of Philadelphia fans, I run across a lot of Giant fans, a lot of Jet fans, because there's a lot of transplants over there, and they like football. And I talk to them, I say, hey, you ever remember this movie called The Last Boy Scout? Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Okay. And, it was Bruce Willis, and it was one of Wayans brothers, right?
Yep.
And they had a scene in the movie, and it was a football type of thing. Football was the background of the movie. And, they had Bruce Willis, and he was tied up at the big owner's swimming pool, and the owner was swimming, and he said, our ratings are going down. How are we going to get those butts back in the seats? How are we going to do it? And Bruce Willis said, sports booking. It's gambling. And then, that was 15, 18 years to the day. And now you see it. You think that this just happened by a flip of a coin or happenstance? You got, like you say, Sheldon Adelson, he's waiting in the wings.
Yep.
And you have Jerry Jones in the back.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and I'm always like, I'm not a Cowboy fan or anything. I don't even think he really cares if his team wins or loses. I really don't. And he's got an all-star cast.
Yep.
Yet we'll see what happens this year. He has an all-star cast.
Jerry's.
But the deal is that as much money as he spends, they should have a go to the Super Bowl every year. But that's them. But what I'm saying is that you have all these different storms, these storms that swirling about, and this is just not by happenstance. Okay, that this, hey, we couldn't afford, and we wouldn't give them a stadium, and we're cheap, and all this, and people don't understand. This is a market. It's market. Oakland, the Bay Area is what, the fourth, the third, the fourth
Six.
largest market in the country,
Six
right?
largest. Six. Number six.
Okay, six. That's big. Okay, and Las Vegas is what?
42nd.
42nd. I thought it was 41st. Okay, you got me. So the deal is that one. Okay,
What's one
so
among
42nd.
friends?
But the deal is that they are going to do small market ball, but they are not, or they just replicate themselves in casinos. People are not, living it up big in the casinos. And ever since the problems with the shooting at the Country Western Festival and other things, it's been down. It's been down. And I'm
Actually,
not trying to
can I add to that?
or on Vegas, but that's just the way it is.
Can I add to that real quick?
Go ahead.
Raider Mac? Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, I did. It's funny you mentioned that because I conducted an analysis just after the shooting to determine when Las Vegas visitation rates started really going down. And guess what?
Mhm.
It was actually before the shooting by 6
Yeah.
months. And the reason why uh, year to year there were fewer visitors to Las Vegas was because of the high resort fees.
They're fleecing people.
Yeah, I was like, it was the resort fees because Vital Vegas, Scott Robertson, who has a blog and a Twitter account that's very active, was the first to really start yelling about the high resort fees and how they were chasing away the middle-age American gambler. And and on top of that, it wasn't just the resort fees, but as my mom is fond of pointing out, who is a Las Vegas veteran, the slots at places like Harrah's and Bally's, but Harrah's, they didn't pay off as much. And
Mhm.
if you wanted to have a slot that paid well today at Harrah's or Bally's, you have to go to the video slots. Now, older folks don't really cotton to that. They're used to the old style, right? With the numbers,
Yes,
right,
yes, yes, yes.
right. And so
Yes, but
they don't want to. You're talking about somebody who's in their 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Uh, they really don't want to go to the video thing. And so the casinos did really a terrible job of trying to woo their older customers. And so it was so bad that, in fact, I need to figure out how to get this person on the show. There's a woman that lives in Georgia who lived in Vegas and worked in the casino industry for decades, like 42 years, and wrote this book about how Las Vegas had forgotten people who were once their bread and butter, which are people like my mom or people like this woman that I'm thinking of, whose name I can't remember, but I will find, who wrote this book. And it's a big problem to go through the entire acreage of casinos and slots in these great hotels with great service and great people and great hospitality and see these machines unused. And you might see one person in a sea of 300 machines. I kid you not. Okay. It's made it easier for me to find my mom when she was going to, find a machine. But for her, it was nostalgia because it is nostalgia because her late husband, my late stepfather, Chester Yerger, and her used to go all the time. And he was the kind of person who he could literally make a slot machine rain money.
mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
yeah, and so hey, anytime he needed extra money, he's go to Vegas.
Wow.
And
Wow. It's
he
hard to do now,
hey, he was a magician, and
yeah.
mom learned a lot of his patience at the slots, and it works for her even today. I don't know how it's going to work this year because of the situation, of course, but last year and even earlier this year when we went to Vegas and I went to CES and I took her, it worked really well for her. And so it's history for her. It's a way of her remembering her late husband
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying Las Vegas because The Las Vegas that I know, you know, she knows, other people know, is a remembrance. It's a gigantic history museum of American culture, right? You've got symbols of the Rat Pack and Sinatra and all of the Wayne Newton and showgirls and all kinds of different types of characters, and then places like the Caesar's Forum and the Caesar's Fountain, where Evil Knievel jumped the fountain in 1969, if memory serves, and that really
Yeah.
captured my imagination because then later he remember the sky cycle, and he ran over the or tried to go over the Grand Canyon, which almost killed
Yes,
him, I
yes,
think. Right. So
yeah.
these are all this American culture, Vegas is part of, and so it's like Vegas has quite literally, I think, by dint of generation change and technological change, really forgot its soul. And so by the time of the shooting, the really sad event of October 1st of 2018, it will, people were thinking, okay, well, it's that's causing the visitor decline. It was not that. It was not that. It was not that at all. It was the high resort fees. And the problem is that Vegas didn't do anything of gigantic note to try to bring people back after that tragedy, right? Just as it hasn't not doing anything of gigantic note other than these commercials, which I think are cool, to bring people back, during the pandemic. And now we have people who are used to staying at home, gambling, watching sports like we watch, uh, Tiger and Peyton versus Phil and Tom and all that stuff. Home is where the heart is, and it's going to be until we find a cure for this terrible vaccine that's really haunted the world. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's no other way to put it. But in all this, I would think the Raiders would say, you know what, we need to change our strategy, focus on bringing people together, stop the fake news, say to the federal government, we need help, but stop acting like
No.
we got this, and and they're not doing it. And it's kind of like, man, it's hilarious. I mean, what say you? So,
Well, I think that you're basically always, on the side of the good, and you make things very crystal clear, and you have your stance. But they haven't really dealt with the fans, the public, 100% genuine. So I don't see why they would do anything now. There's a lot of things that you see that they're hiding, and it's going to come evident. Okay,
yeah.
it's going to come. It's going to show, and people are going to, this is an. I'm just going to be looking at you. And yeah, I'm just waiting for you to have the face where it's like, I told you, didn't I tell you this?
Well, hey,
Didn't I tell you? I would like, I want to be there that day,
have you
but
ever
they're not going to operate that way.
hey Raider Mac, you ever seen the video that I made of Mark Davis when he basically was trying to say he wasn't working behind the city's back, but really wound up admitting that he was? Did you ever see that video? I have it right here.
Was he on the couch? Was he on the couch?
No, no, no. He
And,
was at
and
this at the
no, I don't remember
2015
that.
NFL Spring League meeting, and I've got it right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge the screen as I'm doing. Uh, it's enlarged on Zenny 62 on YouTube, where you're live with me, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let her rip. Some viewers have seen this before, some of them not, but it's worth playing in this context. And
Go ahead.
here it is. Uh, and we cannot hear Mark talking for whatever reason. I can hear you. Um, let's try something here. Let's see if that works. But Mr. Davis, the mayor's concerned that basically we're working at cross purposes. But the mayor's concerned that you actually. Oh, let's try that again. Let's try that again, because what happened was I had that on. I'll remove this from stream, and then I'll bring the other one back. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, I had the wrong version up. I had one up, and then here's the other, and there it is.
As I've told you, we're working as hard as we can to stay in Oakland. Okay, We're meeting with every one of their.
So you're willing to put money in Coliseum City if it calls for it to get a
We're putting $500 million in the Coliseum City. Is that something new to you? Well,
No,
we've
not
been
the
saying that for
it's the pre-development expenditures that are made. They've been publicly announced on the video, on the economic study. The
I don't know if you can hear that, but
Yeah, I can hear. I remember this. I remember this.
yeah,
It's. Can I talk?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I remember this, and the thing is, it's almost like you might have the side that you don't want to get emotional, personal about it, which would probably be your side and things like that. And there's a lie is a lie, and then you might come across you have some feelings like Faust Man, where he just throws it down,
Yeah,
and it really hurts and things like that, and he's going to tell you how it is, and there's no other way around it, and he's going to break it down, and where you got your your article, your verb, your noun, your preposition, and that's it. And it's no way around it. So I have both those feelings, but I think I caught you on Zenny on your program one day, and you were talking about Amy Trask, and you were talking about um, the mayor, Libby, and all that, and how he didn't want to deal, and he did not want to negotiate, and he wasn't talking, and he just stalled, and he just stalled people, and ran the clock out. But he's always had this in mind, and that he was going to try to move, and he trademarked the Las Vegas Raiders, years before he did this.
yeah.
So
And I remember,
everybody
yeah,
can see this.
no, yeah, and I remember. Let me try something, Raider Matt. Mark, Matt. I'm gonna put you on mute for 1 second to see if this video
Go
plays
ahead.
lighter. Hold on a second.
Sure.
All right, let me see if I put that on mute. Hold on a second.
And I'm not watching it because I don't want the feedback.
Oh, I hear you. Okay, hold on a second.
No problem.
It's still not playing loud, is it? For some particular reason. But at any rate, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and I think maybe it's because it might be because I have you on the phone and I've routed you through the computer speaker. Whatever. The whole point is that we we had the date that happened that Raider Mac is talking about was after September 10th of 2015, and I went to see the mayor on another matter, and the subject of Mark Davis and her talking came up matter of factly, and by her, because Libya told me that Mark Davis had not returned her phone calls, and I think she called him several times, and it's not the first time that the Raiders have exhibited disrespect toward the mayor, the 50th mayor of Oakland, and Oakland's first white female mayor. And there were a number of people, I think, who mischaracterized Libby as being a cheerleader in a way that easily comes off as sexist by some and very derisive. Uh, and I'm not saying that Libby did. I'm not saying that Libby didn't do herself uh, some favors along the way. She
True.
certainly made her
True.
mistakes. But look, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If Amy Trask had been the president of the Raiders, or at least a point person heading up the Raiders stadium effort, and Mark had hired her or put her in position to do that, the Raiders would still have been in Oakland. Period. Because
Yeah, it's possible. Very possible.
I believe that Amy and Libby would have gotten along much better. The kind of derision that Libby received on a regular basis, even from some people on her side, that I warned them. I said, you shouldn't talk that way about her because you're on our side, and she's my god sister, and I got to go to bat for her. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that was going on.
Let me just interject one thing.
Yeah, please.
The one thing that sticks in my mind is that I travel a lot, and have uncles and people at different parts of the world, and whatever Raider book or something old, I will always give it to them, whether it be Marcus Allen's book or Jack Tatum's book or a lot of these guys' books. And so Amy Trask, she had a book, and it was called negotiate like a girl,
Yeah.
right? And you probably heard it. And
Yes, I have it.
basically, yeah. So basically, when I gave it to my uncle, and he read it, because he's a fast read. He said, I could see why, Mark Davis got rid of her. I could see why, because she knew more than he did. But the deal is that I'm going to say this is that on the Bear we have 95.7 a game.
Hmm.
Watch it in the morning.
Hmm.
I used to, and when they had Pop, I used to. And once they got rid of him,
Hmm.
then I just sort of just drifted off, and I don't have any interest in it anymore because everything was set up. But I can remember Eric Davis of the 49ers. He was on there,
Yeah.
and early before they had Lorenzo Neal.
ED. Yeah.
Yeah,
ED.
yep, ED, right.
Hmm.
And so basically, Eric Davis went to move on from 95.7 a game to a Monday morning football show on the NFL Network.
Yep.
And it was like the morning, just like football now that they have the morning football. It was a
Good morning
precursor to that,
football.
but he was on that.
Yep.
He jumped from the radio to that show, and basically he was giving a lot of comments. Everybody had comments, and you had um, all sorts of former players making comments. And the one thing he said, Libby, she sunned him. She tried to sun him.
Hmm.
And basically saying, son, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not in this, and you don't
Oh
know. And
no.
now you got some, paper mache plan on some napkin paper, and this is your plan of how you're going to get a stadium. And it made it sound like she was unprofessional. I'm not a fan, but I can understand.
She did
Then you
that
have
to
other people who are
Eric
saying,
Davis?
hey, she stuck to her guns.
Yeah.
This team tried to hold her hostage and say, hey, if you want us, you give us this, that, and the other. And now, yeah, she says, I can't do that. And she stuck to her guns, and now they're gone, and they've showed who they were.
Well, here's the
Okay?
thing. Yeah,
Go ahead.
the problem though, I just want to clarify something. Are you saying that she tried to make fun of Eric Davis?
No, 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 no.
Oh.
Eric Davis said that that the mayor basically sunned him, saying son Mark Davis.
Oh, I get it.
Like
I get it.
son, you don't know what you're. This is a little bit. I've been working this. I know what I'm doing. She tried to son him, as he said it. And
Oh,
you go back on
that's way
YouTube,
not
or
true,
you
folks. That
probably could find it on YouTube,
I
and they have different people's opinions about how the Raiders will work or they won't work, or they have everybody sold, just like how you said about Vegas. Vegas is not what it used to be.
but I have to
They're
clarify
talking
something.
about. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Look, Libby never did that to anyone. All Libby did
Yes.
that pissed off people in the sports business who were close to the matter at the time and who were part of, and I don't want to give away names, but part of the swirl of relationships of people that were involved in the Raiders either staying in Oakland or leaving. But some of those people mischaracterized Libby, saying what Libby said in the press was basically it was interpreted as, "Oh, hey, you can go and pound sand," and
Kick rocks, huh?
and right, and Mark Bedane to this day continues that. Okay, all right,
Okay.
that all right, that really pissed off a lot of people, and Libby did make the mistake of folks. If you ever take office, I don't care what your political stripe is. All right, first of all, drop politics. Don't let politics impact your decision making, because the mayor did do that, and she was trying to take what she thought was a left point of view as opposed to a pragmatic one, and didn't understand the value of what she had or how to use land. So what happened was that but then she did the biggest no-no of all in economic development. In fact, they repeated the no-no, this mistake that I'm about to tell you about last week. You don't negotiate with your sports tenant in public, especially when they are teetering on the brink of leaving. You don't do that. Everything should be back channel. You don't want to have a middle person. You need to say something, make a YouTube video, take the media out of it, write down what you're going to say, rehearse it, and then say it always with the idea of informing the public and reconciliation for whatever problem there is. Libby didn't do that. Now, more recently, last week, Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority Executive Director and legendary Oakland City Manager Henry Gardner didn't do that either. He got and used the media basically to put out a message that he thought was going to embarrass the A's, saying, "Hey, they're withholding rent, saying that they don't have any money because of the coronavirus." Well, guess what? A lot of baseball organizations are hurting, but more important, no team, no group had access to the Coliseum Stadium. Why? Because of the coronavirus issue, because of the governor's issue of, hey, look, no gatherings of anyone or any group over 1,000 people anywhere. There are a lot of preconditions that put the clamps on the use of the Coliseum. So why should anybody reasonably expect the Oakland A's to pay rent under those circumstances? But not only that, you don't call them out for it, knowing doggone well that, hey, they're in a bad situation. The problem is that we have a number of elected officials and a number of people who are under the assumption that sports organizations are just rich, period, liquid. But what people look at the revenues that are brought into a sports organization, but they don't look at the expenses. It's like anything. You have income and expenses, and there's a net operating income. When you have a pandemic, guess what happens? Your revenues
Crash.
go way down, and your
It's a
expenses
crash.
kind of like sit there unless you work out a deal with somebody and say, hey, you know what? I don't have the money coming in, and I don't know when I'm going to get it back. And, you know, the president has these task forces and everything, but all those folks flew to Washington, including the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Bob Manfred, the commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell, basically all the major commissioners, Mark Cuban and Jerry Jones and Bob Kraft. They didn't fly in there just to have a little rock star party. No, they flew in there because at the end of the day, they expected the president to cut a check to help them. Okay. And the president, even though he said he was going to do it, didn't do it. And that delay has hurt everybody. The ripple effects of the government not putting out money quickly beyond that $1,200 blip or the payroll protection program, which has helped organizations like Zenny 62 Media, but it's not enough. And I mean, I hear a lot of people saying, hey, look, it's not enough. And so what's happening is that Hertz declared bankruptcy. JCPenney has closed all of its 252 stores. Denny's has closed 15 restaurants, on and on and on. And this is going to keep on going. What you're going to have are corporations that are, say, at the official partner of the NFL or MLB or any of the sports majors declaring bankruptcy unless something is done. Right now, the NFL's got a great, system of partnerships on its end, a founder of sponsorships. Like, for example, Papa John's set a revenue record in April. But if you take a look at Las Vegas Stadium, hey, Caesars Entertainment, Caesars Entertainment furloughed what? 66,000 employees. MGM Resorts, similar number. The San Manuel Casino closed until further notice. All right. It's so bad that if you go to the Raiders website now, that once prominent link that discussed the Raiders founding partner sponsors, you can't easily find anymore. There's a reason for that.
Oh, really?
No, you can't. It's not sticking out in your face anymore. It used to. All right. But there's a reason for that. Hey, somebody dropped. So there's a problem. Or someone doesn't want to, present it that they are a founding partner sponsor, and yet they owe money to all of these other people. All right. There are a whole host of reasons for that development to occur. Rather than hide it, what the Raiders need to do, what the city of Oakland needs to do in terms of presenting its budget, what the cities need to do around the country is band together and say, hey, look, here is our collective total bailout need. And then present that to the White House and Congress, browbeat it into the public, and make it stick until they get the help. Because right now, no one's being honest. It's all, I got this, we got this. And everybody else thinks that somebody else has the money, and they don't. And we're spiraling down the drain, man. We're doing this, like this, okay? spiraling down, spiral. Meanwhile, you have San Francisco, more and more people are homeless. Friends, it's so bad that friends are telling me about homeless people that are in their neighborhoods, and never seen homeless people in their neighborhoods in San Francisco before, right?
Everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah. So it's like,
everywhere.
how bad does it have to get before the people in charge get a collective clue and then collectively say to the federal government, we need help from you. Why? You print money. I had some Yahoo chime in with a comment getting after me saying, well, you want the government to do everything. But excuse me, the government prints money. All right. That's what the government does. It prints money. And if you don't understand what the role of the government is, go back to school. I don't care if you have to go back to high school, learn civics, learn how your country's economy works. Because for people to say that, it's like the reason why I took economics, I was interested in it, but the professors I had, one professor was, oh, I love Betty, gorgeous lady, but conservative is all get out. But she was conservative in an intellectual way, economically. So I couldn't just sit there and listen to her tell me that rent control was bad, right? But I would argue, and I got a D minus. Why? Because I was too busy, rejecting what I was hearing, and I wasn't learning the math behind economics to fashion my own argument to refute hers, let alone know how to find out what the liberal side of the argument was saying from it expressed in economic language. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Learn the language and the lingo. And so I didn't know the language and the lingo. Now I know the language and the lingo. And the trouble is, we have a lot of elected officials now who come out, and I say that way because they don't know the language and lingo. They just know talking points, either left or right. And they don't know why they're there. There are people who are against, for example, coal, but then they say, "Oh, coal is bad," but they don't know that coal is used to produce electricity. They don't know how power is produced, and they don't know how to make the production of power clean. They don't understand how to apply technology to do it. And so what happens is that we go from a Star Wars to a Star Trek society, where we go from a society that knew how to apply technology to get rid of our problems to one that just says, oh, the problem is there, and I don't want this because there's that problem. And so what happens is that technology winds up stagnating in both its creation and its application, save for those people who are wealthy enough to have something built for them that's highly technical, be it a car or anything else. But the rest of the people, does it trickle down to them? No. Why? Because the government isn't set up to do that anymore. We have a crisis in this country that is of gargantuan proportions, and we're going to go down the tubes unless we solve it. Period. End of story. You guys watching this, some of you, you're on this left-right thing. Get rid of it. Think.
No.
Because
this is true.
It's not helping. A friend of mine, Alberto Roca, who represented the Spanish-speaking Unity Council and not La Clinica de la Raza, but another organization, Latino organization that represented Latino contractors when I was representing Oakland Mayor Elihu Harris, would always say on a daily basis, hey, man, he said, Zenny, if you like what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. and it was always at the end of this great long spiel that only Alberto could rattle off. And then he would say, it was always, in the context, he needed something from my boss, right? If you like what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. So my point to everybody is this: if you like what you're getting, keep on allowing what you're allowing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Avery. Go ahead.
No. I'm thinking that basically, with all this pandemic and everything is spiraling out of control and things, and just to sort of walk it back a little bit, I think a lot of this could have been avoided if they would have had, let you be involved in it. And it's not like you're some amateur.
No, I'm not.
I'm not a fanboy, but I mean, everything that you're talking is crystal clear. I don't see why, they couldn't have sold the land to NFL or something like that. All this is doable. But I mean, you have a way that you're saying, hey, this can be done, but the powers that be don't seem to want to do business. So I can't tell you.
No, it's
what say you?
The mayor asked me to help her to give her free advice, and frankly, at first I said, look, don't hire me. This is before the whole thing heated up. And then when it became clear that I was being peppered for a lot of questions, and quite frankly speaking, I wanted clients, I said, hey, look, hire me, hire me, hire me. And she, instead of hiring me, hired somebody that wasn't effective, even though I personally told the commissioner that I was going to get involved because Mark Davis had asked me to put together a plan to keep the Raiders in Oakland. And that's where I got Piper Jaffray Investment Bankers. I came up with a plan that some people on Twitter made fun of because they only saw the napkin that I drew. But when I presented the spreadsheet, because they don't want to think, they just ignored it. And I'm saying that bluntly. There are people who just don't want to think. Use your brain. I know it hurts, but go through the hurt. You'll come out the other side a better person in anything you do in life. We have to think. It's just a number of people, they don't want to go through the payroll protection program, who are people that I know I love and endear and respect. And in two cases, you got to go through the pain of filling it out. If you need help, let me know. I'll help you. But as Magic Johnson says, the money is sitting there. And Raider Mac, the reason why the money is sitting there is because people are afraid. They don't want to go through the complexities of filling it out. But right now, that's what you got to do. If you're having trouble, folks, I'm saying this, all right? Get the money, all right? I'm not saying it's not untoward. It's there for you. It has a number of different regulations. The reason why the government's doing this way, and I'm taking this as a little bit of a takeoff, but I'm going to come back to home. But I want to emphasize this point to those of you who are listening who maybe think the PPP program is not for you. It is. The reason why the government's doing it through traditional channels like the IRS, for example, and the SBA is because those are the organizations that can get the most money out to the most people as quickly as possible. That's why, okay? So they're using traditional means. So you think loan, you think I got to pay it back. Well, no, it's not that, all right? They're trying, and the Congress is trying to work it so that you don't get stuck with it. Everybody realizes this is an unusual time. This is a worldwide problem, okay? So don't be afraid to make government work for you, but you got to ask questions. If you don't know, say, I don't know and I need help. We got to go back to that, because if we don't say that collectively, your pain becomes my pain. Your friend's pain becomes your pain and my pain, and so on and so on and so on. We need to help each other. And this all has to do with the Raiders issue, because again, look, the Raiders are going to feel it. Everybody else is going to feel it. Nobody has a ton of money right now, except the government. That's just a fact. Las Vegas doesn't have it. And this gets me to my other point regarding fake news. You've got Stephen Hill and Jeremy Aguillo saying at the May 21st Las Vegas Stadium Authority meeting, oh, by the way, we're going to pay our bond debts. No, you're not. You have 30 years of debt to pay. This doesn't stop after next year. Oh, no. And for people, and this is what is really crazy, because like the Review Journal gets off on this fake news. Never once have they bothered to use on a regular basis the term debt coverage ratio. What is that? That's the amount of money that you have to have as a county, in this instance, in revenue to cover debt. Basically, you have to have 1.5 times the debt, all right? Guess what? They way don't have that right now, okay? So what does that do? It downgrades the bond. The truth about the bond isn't being told to you. And they have 56, they have now they just took a chunk out of it, of the $53 million of debt service reserve left over. When that runs out, folks, guess what? They got to restructure that bond, because Clark County's general fund will be, it already is projected to be $1 billion underwater.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is a general obligation bond. It is not a revenue bond. It has a revenue stream attached to it, but it is actually seated within the general fund of Clark County. They deliberately and cleverly did it that way by the genius of Guy Hobbs of Hobbs Ong, who was their financial advisor. All right, that was his construct. So, unless Uncle Sheldon is coughing up money behind the scenes, which I think to a degree he is because he's letting his review journal shovel out this stuff. But if he's coughing it up at a higher rate, that's the only thing that's going to. Sheldon Adelson or the government, Adelson's in the government, is the only thing that's going to save the Raiders in Las Vegas financially.
I would like to interject one thing.
Please.
On that note, several people, my time that I stayed there, they were also saying, "Oh yeah, they're going to get the A's as well."
You know what? After last week, they can have the A's, and the reason I say it like this, I'm not saying I want the A's to dearly leave, but I think that the city, I think the city of Oakland needs to be taught a lesson in terms of how to negotiate with sports organizations. What happened last week ticked me off. So I don't care that somebody says, "Oh, the A's are going to leave for Las Vegas." I wouldn't blame them. After something like that, here I am trying to figure out and wondering where our next revenue is going to come from, trying to figure out how to hold on to employees. And I got some Yahoo telling me I got money I don't have. Because
that's nerve.
And that happens a lot in Oakland. I had another person involved with Oakland government basically tell me that a business owner was rich because the business owner was a business owner. I'm serious, Radio Matt.
Wow.
I'm serious.
Wow.
And I had to basically explain to my dear friend who I love, no, that's not the case. That's not the case. It was better when the Coliseum was ran by a private board, which consisted of the late George Lucas of Peerless Coffee, Mary Warren. We were supposed to have a mix of business and politicos, but we didn't get that. Instead, my dear friend who I love, Ignacio de la Fuente, restructured the Coliseum board into the Oakland-Alameda County Joint Powers Authority, and we were supposed to have 20 members from the business community. Never done. Instead of doing that, they opened it up to 6 members of the business community, 3 for the county and 3 for the city. Excuse me, 2 from the city, 2 representing the city, and then 2 representing the county, and then let it go at that. But it was supposed to be 20, and which would have given us some room to, create a special task force for the Raiders or for the Warriors situation. People who would be, venture capitalists who could speak the same language as Joe Lacob, who's a venture capitalist, right? And so on. None of that was done. None of that was done. But don't think the Raiders are going to run to Las Vegas and not repeat some of the same mistakes. You want an example of what I'm talking about? Last May 21st, Las Vegas Stadium Authority meeting, I got on public comment on the Zoom or whatever they were using, and I said, "Hey, look, this is a friendly warning that the suites that you want to open up and have the tickets allocated to for the public economic development officers first is going to backfire on you because there are going to be people who feel like you shouldn't have that, who are going to make a political mess for you that's going to take a long time for you to clean up." And I say this because we went through that problem in the city of Oakland. Remember, Raider Mac, the Raiders had the city box set up, box 209?
No.
Yeah.
But I think I might have saw a clip of you asking the question. Let me ask you, how you think you were received?
Oh, I don't care.
You don't.
Although no, I don't.
It sort of looked like it was cold. It was a cold reception.
Well, I don't. But here's the thing: when I have been on so many sides of public forums. I worked for the mayor of Oakland, several mayors of Oakland, really Jerry and Brown, and then Elihu Harris, who's my boss, and I still call him boss. And then, of course, the legendary city manager Robert Bob, who I work with. I'm used to in Oakland, and I'll just say this straight out. All right, when I worked for Oakland, Oakland was ran by whipper smart, politically kind, very savvy, very seasoned African American elected public officials. Okay, not just elected, but public. Henry Gardner, foremost among them, which is why I'm really disappointed that he did what he did last week. Okay, I was really shocked that he would do that, but he did. He was foremost among them, and that group of people understood how to get deals done. They succeeded in the face of George Williams, who was the economic development director for the city of Oakland when I was intern at the city of Oakland Economic Development Office from 1987 to 1988 and 89. And he engineered the federal government putting the first federal building in the Bay Area in Oakland instead of San Francisco. And they had a political argument all ready to go that worked, and they got it done like that. These are the people that I came to admire. And moving forward, they would not make, many of them collectively, if they were all the collective, like Robert Bob, would never have made the mistake that Henry Gardner made. Okay. I had Robert on my show a month ago. All right. Ever. Hey, here's Joseph Almenduras. Let's bring him in. Hey, Joseph,
Hey,
how
Zenny.
you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Cool. Hey, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but it's really low, and I even tried playing with the settings.
Yeah, let me try something here. Raider Mac,
Yeah,
I'm gonna put
go
you on
ahead.
speaker. Hold on a sec. Let me try to put you on speaker. Hey, hear me?
Sure.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay, that's better. Joseph, can you speak up?
Yes. Test, test, test.
Ah, that's the difference. Now I got you guys balanced out. Okay. Raider Mac, can you hear Joseph?
100%.
Hey, Joseph, can you hear
Yes,
Raider
I
Mac?
can.
Cool. Raider Mac, meet Joseph Almenduras. Joseph Almenduras, we made Raider Mac longtime friend of the show.
Nice to meet you, Raider Mac.
I've seen you on online, and I'm familiar. Good
All
guy.
right, cool. Thank you.
Raider Mac, Joseph lives in LA. He is an LA Raider Booster Club member, and Raider Mac is a famed Oakland Raider Booster Club member. Were you a Booster Club member?
No, not necessarily. But silver and black. You cut me, I'm a bleed silver.
That's
black.
yeah.
Okay, that's I know. You got to look at it. When they started saying the nation, and you have Cowboy Nation and Sooner Nation, where did they first started using the word nation? Where?
Raiders.
Where?
Raiders.
Where? Where
Oakland.
was it born?
Oakland Raider Nation. Yep, that's right, man. Yeah, that's where it started. And if you think about where it started, for those of you who from LA and think, well, gee, LA, but the whole point is, it's a matter of also of timing. When the Raiders returned to Oakland in 1995, going to 96, there was no social media. Raider Nation is a child of social media. That's how it spread, right? I mean, you had AOL and AOL groups, but they weren't as viral by any means. Only 3% of the population was using AOL. And by the way, today is, I believe, AOL's 35th birthday. But I digress. Happy birthday to AOL, and congratulations to my friend Steve Case, who was the founder of AOL. But point I'm making is that social media really got its start in 2003, 2004, and then it grew in 2007. And by that time, the Raiders were solidly in Oakland.
And to your point, I think that terminology was created once they went back to Oakland in '95. Raider Nation. Yeah.
And because also the travel, right? So it's it. But what we're talking about, Joseph, and is just the mistruths that we go to the Vegas. And it's like, oh my gosh, can't we? And let me do this. And before I get too far, because Raiders SP has been writing up a storm here. Let me get his comments out of the way here. Raiders SP says, hey, well, first of all, let me start from the top. Willie Wayne, good evening. How you doing? Then Willie Wayne says, Earl Campbell was a beast. And that's to my comment. And we were talking about Raider Mac and I about the late, great Houston Oilers, owned by Bud Adams, the late, great Bud Adams, and the great Tyler Rose, Earl Campbell, who came into the Coliseum and was summarily, well, I won't say he was shut down, but I'll just say he was slowed down by the Raider defense. Willie Rain says Jerry Jones helped the Raiders get into Vegas and get a new stadium. Raiders SP says, hey, Zenny. And I say, hey. And then he says, not just the Raiders, the NFL in general is acting like things are normal and just going to start in September. And then he goes on to say, Eric Davis did say and Mark wanted to stay in Oakland, and Libby sunned him. And folks, I'm telling you, there's no truth to that sunning stuff at all. All Libby was saying was that she didn't want to use public money. Now, here's the thing. For those of you who get stuck on that, you wanna know a difference between people who know the deal and people who don't. People who know the deal know that at the end of that, in the deal was $400 million of public money. $400 million. But the reason why we got there, how we got there, was because you guys remember Floyd Kephart? Remember him, Raider Mac?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to meet him?
No.
He was a great man. I know Boss loved him. I have never had anything personally against Mr. Kephart, except that I felt that he was trying to hoodwink some people. And so I wound up telling the mayor, I just said, look, Mr. Kephart is asking for $400 million from you to go through him. He wants to buy a portion of the Raiders. So riddle me this. He buys 20%, 30% of the Raiders based on $200 million in part that he gets from the city of Oakland. That's taxpayer money he's using that would catalyze the construction of a stadium that the Raiders would own that will cause them to reach a combined value of $3 billion. So basically, if he's owning close to 30% of the team, didn't we just make him a billionaire with taxpayer dollars? So you think, I mean, how many people do you think are not going to ride Libby out of town on a rail hearing that? Okay? You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, about 100.
Yeah, okay. So for those of you thinking, Libby shouldn't be, that was what Kephart, that's the situation that Kephart was going to wind up getting the city of Oakland into. That was the issue. Okay, that was the main problem, and there were a lot of ways to curve that $400 million gap. I found one via hotel net operating income over a 45-year period that worked. And there were people who said, "Well, derisively, you just use hotels." Well, yeah. Did you run the numbers? It works. Try running the numbers. I mean, the people who would laugh at this thing, like Fred, I forgot Fred's name with CBS in LA. I'm thinking, okay, these guys don't understand stadium economics. And they don't even bother to try. You have to call themselves journalists. I'm a journalist. Oh, I'm a journalist. Oh, brother. All right. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And when I would come back at them and say, hey, you got a race issue, and they would get mad. What would you expect me to say, given all the garbage? They weren't giving me a chance to explain my situation. There's only one media organization up and down the state of California that gave me a chance to explain my case at the time, and that was Good Morning San Diego, and they had me on to talk about the stadium situation when I told them the Raiders were going to remain in Oakland, and they actually wound up remaining in Oakland for the next 2 years, okay? But they were kind enough to give me a platform and treat me as a respected guest. But did these other organizations do that? No. Did they bother to check out and explain how stadium financing works? No. It was the assumption is, okay, Stan Kroenke has rich. Hold on a second. Let me, folks. I'll be right back. I gotta take this. I'll be right.
Well, while he's taking it, I guess I'll just kind of fill in while he's out. So one of the local television stations, I think he mentioned Fred, and I think it might have been Fred Rogan at NBC Sports. I could be wrong. But I do notice that that particular broadcaster tends to have a slighted view of things. Obviously, he's being sold the idea, in particular with the Fred Rogan situation, if that's who he's referring to. He actually got people in his ears because I see some of the things.
I'm back. Hey, we're back.
Okay, take it over.
Joseph, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oops. Let me see here. Joseph?
Yes. Test.
You can hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. You're back. I got Raider Mac back. Okay, cool. All right. So at any rate, that was I looked at what that was saying regarding Eric, but Raiders SP and Eric Davis, and he's just plain wrong about Libby. And then Raiders SP says the truth of the matter is the NFL is a business, and owners who feel like they won't be successful in a market, owners could leave that sad truth, and us loyal fans of a team get screwed in the end. But Raiders SP, what I remind you of is that what Mark Davis left for gambling has yet to be realized. Now, he did get $750 million to build a stadium, but he was going to get $400 million to build not the same stadium, but a stadium that was state of the art in Oakland that was open air like he wanted it. He didn't want a dome stadium in the context of the Coliseum. He wanted open air. He wanted 8,000 seats close to the stadium. He wanted at least 120 luxury boxes. Okay. He wanted an intimate setting. And what he was about to get was something that looked kind of like the Seattle Stadium, but at the end of the day, it would have been freaking cool. And I'm not saying that the Death Star isn't freaking cool. It is. But for my taste, I think in terms of earthquakes, what was going to be built in Oakland was better for our environment than what is being built in Las Vegas. I'll just say that, okay? I'm not convinced that the Las Vegas Stadium could withstand an earthquake that's 5 on the Richter scale.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, since you said he was going to get $400 million,
Yeah.
and there was a deal on the table, and because he did not take that deal, isn't that a violation of antitrust laws or something like that?
No.
No?
No, the problem is, and I'm thinking that you're referring to why we lost the case, is, first of all, we had a judge that just wasn't buying the argument. And what should have happened is that I personally think that they should have just simply declared the judge hostile early on and went with that. I had a sliver of hope that maybe the judge might extend it a little bit more, but I went back, took another look at it, and said, no, that's not going to happen. And I went back and took a look at it based on information, but realized that wasn't going to happen. What we should have done was simply follow what St. Louis has done, because the St. Louis case is still not thrown out of court. It is a breach of contract case. And the judge in the St. Louis instance agrees that what St. Louis faced was a breach of contract on the part of both the Rams and the National Football League. And the contract was the relocation agreement. Did I deal with your question, Raider Mac?
Yes, because basically I'm looking at 3 different, scenarios where it's Oakland, San Diego, and St. Louis, and I always thought that they would sort of, run parallel to a certain degree. But I guess different circumstances, so.
Well, what happened was, I think, in order for everybody to understand not just why we got here or where we are right now, but why. The real reason is that, well, Steve Ballmer bought the Clippers for $2 billion. And that was in 2012. And I remember when it happened, and I was at NFL Honors, and there was already rumblings that, hey, the NFL wants to hurry up and get a team in LA because they don't have a team in LA. And there's this romanticism that I think is a little bit misplaced regarding Los Angeles corporate power as opposed to the Bay Area. The Bay Area is more expensive than LA. The Bay Area, yes, it has a terrible homeless problem. Yes, it has some government decision making that is less than it can be. But the one thing you can't take away from the Bay Area is evident every time you turn on a television set or activate a phone. And that's the power, is that the Bay Area is the Detroit of the 21st century. So if you have a television set and you go to watch Netflix or sync with Facebook or Amazon or Hulu or all of the list of organizations, those organizations either directly or indirectly have some tie to the San Francisco Bay Area, and yet you bring them into your house every time you go out to buy a television set. Every single time. All right. So if you want one example of Bay Area economic power to the world, just turn on the television set. Look at your iPhone. Or if it's not an iPhone, look at Android. That's Google. Where's Google's headquarters? Mountain View. Google is so enormous that it quite literally has an influence on 3 billion people in the world. And when I say influence, I mean in terms of communications. I mean in terms of the grid that they've developed that's taking information from what you and I put out, even by word, if you have Google Home like we do, on a per seconds basis, and it's collecting it into the largest functioning information gathering system ever developed in the human race. You understand that? All that happens right in the Bay Area. So for those people who are out there talking about how they think Vegas is better and all this, you know what? You're nuts. You have no idea how much money and influence the Bay Area has, even right now. The city of Oakland went out, said, hey, look, we're going to raise $12 million to close the digital divide. They did that a week ago Thursday. Do you realize that was like not last week Thursday, but the week before that? Do you know in 1 week they raised $12 million? Mark Pincus wrote a check for $700,000 to do so. Then Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, wrote a check for $10 million. Boom, boom, boom. They solved that in a week, man. 1 week. And that's in the middle of a pandemic. Okay? So don't tell me about the Bay Area not having money. I don't want to hear it. For those of you who like show money and you think, you know, money is gambling and all that stuff, and it's like as someone told me, well, gambling is, and it isn't going to go away, but look, the biggest fear that Sheldon Adelson had was the influx of gambling via the internet. And it's here. And what has it done? It is little by little, it's lipped away at Las Vegas supremacy, because now you don't have to be anywhere other than your home. You can go in gambling, win some money, or hey, you want to invest in crypto or whatever, DraftKings, whatever. It's all in front of you. You don't have to go anywhere. And Las Vegas has done a lousy job of recovering. Sports, you want to talk about sports betting? Hey, I would argue that New Jersey is ahead of Las Vegas and Nevada in terms of sports betting. Because it used to be you could only go there to bet on sports, to Nevada, but now you've got New Jersey cleaning up in terms of rate of growth of gambling. And the Supreme Court said, hey, look, any state around the country can do it. So what does that do? Who does that weaken? It weakens Vegas. So riddle me this. What happens to the Niners in the Bay Area? Aren't they now able to take advantage of the same gambling opportunities that the Raiders have in Las Vegas? The answer is yes. And they didn't have to move. Ooh.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You talk about the gambling and how I guess the sports booking in-house, that's Sheldon Adelson's territory. Who owns the major, who's the major owner percentage of DraftKings?
DraftKings owner, that's a private organization that was established by Sports Fantasy. And
right, but there's a big player involved in that.
Well, they're a C Corp, okay? But in terms of how they're structured now, in terms of investors, and in terms of who owns them now, DraftKings, I believe, went public just a little bit ago. And so if I'm not mistaken, because now you can buy stock in DraftKings, they are, as I checked the NASDAQ, they're at $29.11. They had taken a dip to $26 this morning. Now they're at $29. Their previous close was at $28. So you as a member of the public can buy stock in DraftKings now.
Because I always thought that Jerry Jones had a big play in that.
Well, he did originally, but
yes,
now it's public. So Jerry not only had a big deal with that, Jerry also established was a founder of Convention Sports and Leisure. Now,
Yes.
Convention Sports and Leisure writes these studies for sports stadiums to be constructed. Convention Sports and Leisure wrote all or most of the ticket studies that were done for Las Vegas for its stadium. So here you have Jerry Jones owned Convention Sports and Leisure writing the studies around Las Vegas Stadium and ticketing. And then you have Jerry Jones owned Legends doing the naming rights and sponsorship for the stadium. He's getting paid left
Yes.
and right.
Yes.
Folks,
Yes. Yes.
that's an
Yes.
entrepreneur, okay?
Yes.
That's a
yes.
straight on entrepreneur. That's the way Jerry rolls. And I
Okay.
love him to death. I say that
Yeah.
personally because I've told the story before. I'll tell it again. I remember when I developed the Oakland Baseball Sim World, and I had an idea for something called the Dallas Cowboys Sim World. And you would say, what are the Sim Worlds? And the Oakland Baseball Sim World, or sports business simulations, we made online simulations of sports organizations for use in the classroom. And I had there were around 2 games that I made sims. One, the original one called the XFL Sim World, which asked you to make the XFL last for longer than the 1 year that it did in actual practice. That was the first version of the XFL, not this one. The second one, Oakland Baseball Sim World, had 181 variables and 181 dependent variables, and it had 59 different independent variables, decision-making variables that allowed you to basically run the organization as part of a class. We were at the sport management program because Dan Rasham was my business partner, who was on the show about a month ago. He was my business partner. And it started because when I developed the game, I had gotten Dan to help city manager Robert Bob regarding the matter of the A's. This is in 2002 in Oakland. And I developed this sim game around system dynamics. I showed Dan, we were having a meeting because I wanted his students to buy the licenses, right, to use it, buy the subscriptions. And I said, have you ever seen anything like this? He said, no. I said, we should go into business together. He goes, that would be a good idea. And we were saying, what would we call it? And I said, sports. And he said, business. And I said, simulations. And that's how sports business simulations was born. The mistake that I made was, first of all, I think in general, not focusing on your company. I got off the bar, focused on blogging, and I let getting invited to go on CNN nationally and all that stuff, getting to my ego, and it got me off track. During that, I came up with an idea called the Dallas Cowboys Sim World. I went to the Lee Steinberg Super Bowl party in Scottsdale in 2007. I told Jerry about the idea. I had actually already sent the proposal to the Cowboys, but I don't know who got it. It was some intern. He said, make sure that proposal gets to me. And I thought what I sent in presentation sucked. So I was so afraid I was going to be rejected, I didn't send it. Don't ever do that in your entire natural born life, folks. That's a bad thing to do. When the owner of Dallas Cowboys asks you to send him a personally proposal and you have direct access to him, you do it, okay? I reminded Jerry of that last year at CES, and he said to me after he was holding court to potential Raiders sponsors, some of which are now Raiders sponsors, he says, well, hell, how do you know I would have liked it? See? The whole point is you might get rejected, but you might get accepted too. That's the lesson I learned. And don't think it's because you're black, because that's not always the case, or anything else. If you don't give the system a chance to work for you, you'll never find out that it will work for you. And sometimes, hey, look, I'm not saying there are people out there who are butthole racist. There are those people in abundance. But you got to give the people who aren't a chance to, okay? That's what I learned. And I'm not saying that I was thinking Jerry had anything to do with race. No. I was intimidated by the fact that he was a successful entrepreneur who was a wildcatter, who was not afraid to take chances, okay? Whereas I was afraid to take a chance, all right? I learned from that. I reminded him, we had a nice laugh about it. I'm not afraid anymore. in large part because of that.
So is that
Large part.
technology beyond what is being done today? In other words, could you kind of propose that idea again to him, or do you think that the time has passed?
This is a good question. Would have to revise. I would have to want to take the energy to reestablish SBS. And look, Zenny 62 Media, as you know, is enough. And the one other mistake that I made then that I haven't made this time is I had one company that was established in Delaware and as a corporation, and in California as a corporation. And I did that at the behest of an attorney that I should not have listened to. And I did. So I wound up paying gobs of money because I had one company, and I had a company that had a dual identity. It was like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And I didn't know what I was doing. Now I have a Delaware company that if I, sign it up for another state, that will become, which I'm going to do, that will become a Delaware company, a Delaware foreign company. So let's say if it's Illinois, it'd be a Delaware foreign company in Illinois. All right. So I'm not spending all this gobs of money, but I had to get my ass burned to know that big time. I went through enough errors in judgment in establishing my company to where I don't make those mistakes anymore. And if I don't know something, I ask. And the best news of all, folks, is the infrastructure of companies and software service systems online to help you establish your company are in abundance today. Whereas when I started sports business simulations in 2003, they were not there. You had to call an attorney, you had to get these answers. You don't have to do that now. It saved me between $40,000 and $25,000 and $40,000 easily. So that's the biggest difference, Joseph. But the other is you want to have a laser focus on what you're doing, because if you're trying to get investors and they see that you're divided, they're going to point that out to you. You don't want that to happen. You want people to see that you are Jack Bull determined to build what you're doing, that you're a mad person, that you eat, sleep, and drink your business, all right? And that you can rattle off your figures and everything else. That's where you want to be. And right now, that's where I'm at.
And I believe when you say that, if you ever watch Shark Tank,
I love Shark Tank. Yeah, I do.
They're investors who, you hit it right on the head, was they first thing they ask, how do you have another job? How devoted are you to this company? And what I noticed is something that you mentioned is that if they're in it maybe part-time, they don't want to invest. Like you mentioned, you have to be all in, and that's your whole life.
Yeah, the only time, because there are people who you practically have to take another job sometime, but what you have to do is make sure that the business, you have to make a decision. If you're taking a job because the business isn't working, then maybe you shouldn't be doing the business. Okay, that's a hard row to hoe, but it's just a fact. However, if you're able to put a little bit of time into it and it gets you a lot of money, great. That's the call. Where I'm at right now is the nature of what I do is I have fashioned into a corporation. All right. We have our insurance, we have our own EIN number, we have our own DUNS number for credit, but it's based around operations, it's based upon clients, it's based upon activities that I've done now for about almost 20 years in total and counting. So I built that, but I don't. And speaking of Shark Tank, I've got Robbie Cabral, who is on Shark Tank, who's Mr. Wonderful's one of his partners, actually sent me 2 Benji locks, which I'm going to have Robbie on as a guest. We're going to talk about Benji lock. I'm really proud of Robbie. I was the first person to interview Robbie at CES Las Vegas 3 years ago. So Robbie is now a big shot. Humble guy, Dominican, just a wonderful, wonderful, lovely man. Great family, daughters, great man. So excited to have him on, and it's an entrepreneur's life, it really is. And I'm saying to you folks out there, if you have questions about anything, ask. I'm not going to always have the answer, but I'm happy to try to help you. Okay, I really am. So, and I didn't mean to get too far off the track, because if you think about it, I haven't, because what we're talking about, with Raider Mac and with Joseph Armendariz and with you all watching, is the stuff of what entrepreneurs do. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs of our generation are NFL owners. And it's worth watching them. Some people just deride them, but I don't care if it's David Tepper, who just bought the Panthers, or Shad Khan, who owns the Jaguars. Shad Khan's a really great story. Or Stan Kroenke, who owns a cattle ranch that's the size of Missouri. It's not that they got there. The more interesting story for me is how they got there and what they learned and how I can apply it. Or like Mark Cuban owning the Mavericks. But what happens is that these guys, when they saw that Steve Ballmer, another great entrepreneur who came up through Bill Gates and Microsoft, he was Microsoft chairman, and notable for giving the craziest speeches at CES during his tenure, but I digress. When he bought the Clippers, which are only about 150 million, and paid $2 billion, wow, that upended the sports world. And that's what started the process that led us to where the Raiders are today. And I remember one person in particular, owner, telling me that he didn't think that Mark was going to be able to cut it because he didn't have the money. So every time, the reason why I look at this deal so closely is with that in mind. Because the fiscal underpinnings of Las Vegas Stadium are weak. And unless Mark has a partner to allow him to hold up against drops in stadium sponsorship, any other types of negative action someone in the Nevada political system may do, it may be a long day for him unless he's just willing to just sort of like, once everything's built and done, just call it a day and sell it, which I wouldn't blame him if he did. I mean, if I'm approaching my mid 60s, I've got a couple of health issues. I have pretty much done what other people said I couldn't do. I'd relax. I go to my 14-room home in Vegas, and I have these kick butt parties, and I'd chill. Well, shelter in place is kind of hard, but then of course, it's opened up there. But the whole point is you got to be careful. Point being, Mark Davis has every reason in the world, once this thing is built, done, signed, sealed, and delivered, to sell the Raiders. And it may come to that. What do you think, Reagan? Raider Mac?
I think it's depressing, in the modern day world of me, something that I loved, and it's not where it started. I know things change, but get your own team. But the thing is, I'm going to say is this: two things, and I'll say this. I'll say, well, hey, if Al was alive, this wouldn't have happened. The other things I'll say is that at the time when the Baltimore Colts were gone, and the time that the Browns were gone, and things of that nature, and then they got teams again. Maybe one day Oakland will have a team again.
Oakland deserves a team. I mean, we're the best fan base. We're the best, according to Dan Rasher, we're the best city for an NFL
so bring
team.
Bring on the invaders.
I like it. The Oakland Invaders.
Yeah. And I'm not kidding. You can market it. Hey, this is a team that wants to be here. Okay. Make it gray and black. I don't care. Yeah, really. Okay. You got to look at. I'm looking at it like how when all these teams, the Giants left, and when the New York Giants and they left, and some other team left, and so they made the Mets. And they had similar. This colors is for the Giants, and this colors for the other team when the Dodgers left. And, same thing. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I have more comments. I don't want. Hey, Rocky Mountain JP, PJ is here. JPJ. First, let's see here. Rocky Mountain says he didn't get the notification that we went live. Sorry, I just saw your comments. PJ, welcome. And in Raiders SP says they have no clue because you got people in Congress saying let's wait and see what happens to the economy with the reopening, but they fail to realize that people are broke and need more help. Yep. And then he says it's crazy. People are out on the beaches today, not social distancing and no masks and big gatherings. Raiders SP says his mind definitely changed. I think he was talking about Mark. Then he says, Joseph, good video earlier that you made. Joseph, he saw your video.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, great video, Joseph. Joseph's been swinging it, man. He's been swinging for the fences and hitting them.
After we get off, I'm going to work on the Penny Dreadful episode 5 review. So I'm going to be working on that.
There is a special playlist at Zenny62 on YouTube around all of this Penny Dreadful videos. Check them out. They're all running a loop. Check them out.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
For all the vloggers, I mean, as a former viewer and not knowing what it takes to actually do it, I'm not patting myself on the back, but the work that I do takes a lot of time. So whenever other viewers watch the content on Zenny62, just keep in mind that every vlogger that's working on Zenny62 just put a lot of time and work. And I know the final product, when you see it, seems like it was 10 minutes and so forth, but it usually sometimes takes hours. And so I just want to give a shout out to the fellow vloggers that put in a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it's a labor of love for me personally, and I'm assuming it is for a lot of the vloggers as well. So I just wanted to mention that.
No, well said. I think you do a fantastic job of presenting information and locations with respect to, like, for example, where Penny Dreadful was made in LA, Basin area, that I didn't know, and a lot of other people didn't know and find interesting and informative. And I'm fortunate enough that you're with us, right?
Yeah.
And I'm even more fortunately able to pay you. So and it's getting better, So that's the main thing. And but also I just want to say, for vlogging, the important thing is to do a vlog and pick up your smartphone. I'm saying this in general to people. And don't be afraid about how you look or anything. And just let her rip, And I say that because when you do that, the art of expression takes over. What you're saying, how you say it. You can look like anything. You have vloggers who do their best vlogs in their pajamas, all right? But the whole point is it's like anything in life. Half the part of life is showing up. So that's why I say, because you'll get to a point where, and you've gotten there, well, you just want to say something, or a number of vloggers are like that. But when I first discovered vlogging for myself in 2006, there were people who, like myself, just wanted to let her rip. There are other people who did show vloggers, and there are people who took the shows, and now today, those shows are television ready, but they're on YouTube. So there's different flavors of vloggers. But the only reason I say it the way that I do is so that people don't get afraid, right?
You just do it.
Yeah, just do it, And I say that to everybody here, just do it. And the reason why I say it like that is because I notice a lot of people with cameras, but they're not using them to produce media. Folks, media is being transformed right now. If you want to get involved and get your ideas out there, now is the time to go to work, because the traditional media as you know it, it's fading day by day by day. Let me get the comments out of it. Do you want to add something, Joseph? Or
No.
Okay. And so Rocky Mountain says, "Hey Z, he didn't get the notification." And then he says, Raiders SP says, "Thank you for always truthful input, Zinni. You helped me a lot. I want to start my own YouTube channel." Hey, happy to help. Thanks. And by the way, folks, I have to be candid. I didn't just cherry pick. I didn't cherry pick this comment. I just happened to click and it came up. That was very nice. Thanks, man. This is my day. I got Raider Mac calling me and making my ego feel, great, which I appreciate. I get.
It's just the truth. It's just the
Thanks,
truth.
man. Appreciate it.
I mean, it's what you put out there. Okay, there's some people that they might take you the wrong way, and you might come off like maybe a Boy Scout, but what do the Boy Scouts stand for? They're just trying to do the right thing. They're trying to help somebody across the street. They're not villains or what have you. And all you ever tried to do is just tell the truth and say, hey, something smells fishy.
Oh, and on that, you asked me if I were aware of how I was being, looked at as I was talking to the, and to be candid, I was, but I read it an entirely different way. I'll tell you why. There was one person that looked up, and this is the one person that I truly admire, and I say that straight out, is Bill Hornbuckle. And Bill Hornbuckle looked up, and he made it clear by his face that he was paying attention to what I said. And so when you have the CEO of MGM Resorts giving you his full attention, that was enough for me. That's all I needed. All right. That was all I needed. So with Bill Hornbuckle, he just sat in his chair. He didn't make a face. And when Bill Hornbuckle sat up like that and looked up, as soon as he did that, to be frank with you, okay, my thought was, you know what? The president of MGM Resorts is listening to me with apt attention. Cool. And that's all I needed. That's all I needed. And because I wasn't saying anything that was against them, I was giving them warning about something that I had to deal with. And you have to deal with people who say, how come X got a ticket and I didn't? And that was back in the 90s. And then as we move forward to present day, when Warriors tickets like courtside were $29,000, and you had people screaming bloody murder to the Oakland Ethics Commission, complaining that, hey, I saw this public official on television. How did that person get this ticket? All right. They will make life ugly for public officials and elected officials alike because they didn't get a ticket and they figured out that somebody who was a friend had a connection that got one. And maybe that's how the Vegas works. But you can do that in the middle of a pandemic and expect people to be quiet. That's not how it works because they're going to piss off, because this happens, they pissed off the wrong person, nonprofit person or the right connections. All you need is kind of like I was watching A Mock Time, which is a famous Star Trek episode last night on Netflix. And I forgot the actress name, but she played T'Pau. And T'Pau to me is like the perfect, government representative, cultural representative of a people. And she's known as the only person to ever turn down a seat at the Federation. So important that Starship admirals would not turn her away when she asked for a special exemption for the Enterprise, okay? That kind of person may not have a lot of money they have in their pocket, but they control a lot of money by who they know. There are a lot of T'Paus in the world, and it's those kind of people that you don't want to piss off. And the Las Vegas Stadium Authority is in danger of doing just that if it doesn't heed my warning. So how could anybody in the reasonable mind, disagree with that? That was friendly advice because I lived it. And that's what I was in Brady Mac. That's why I have talked the way I have, because they act like, hey, I'm a Yahoo, I'm crazy, I don't care what they say. The simple fact of the matter is I have been in enough different positions around what they do to know better what they do than they do. All right. And that's just a fact. If they don't like it, hey, fine. Free country, So Raiders SP says, I would love to be a guest with you guys at a time to talk about the Raiders. Love to have you on. And Rocky Mountain says, I sort of have my own blogging site that is hooked into a Twitter account and Facebook page and group, but I'm having issues to just keep it going, not stop. Just keep it going, PJ. You're a good man. You're a young man. Just be yourself, man. Just the main thing. Just be yourself and respect your parents more than anything. I know you do. So yeah. So just keep it going. Hey folks, it is 11:42. I'm going to give my two guests the ability to close us out, starting with Raider Mac. Raider Mac, close us out with your thoughts.
Okay, I think it was a great show.
Thank you.
A lot of insight. Still some unresolved questions that I have. We'll continue this conversation on a private line. But like I said, I'm still holding out hope, that this is NFL is a business. It's a market business, and there is viable business in San Diego and in Oakland and in St. Louis. And one day, Oakland will have a team again, and I'm looking for the team to be the Invaders.
Yeah,
okay?
I like that.
And that's, hey,
Rebirth.
Get the rebirth of that.
Yeah.
Okay, because there is a market.
Yep.
And, there's a history.
Yep.
Okay. And so I'm going to leave it at that. It was good to be on your show. Good to see you and hear from you. And, we'll talk again.
And then you know what? Come to think of it, wouldn't it be cool to have the rebirth of the Oakland economy marked by the rebirth of the NFL in Oakland?
Be great.
That'll be a huge party. You talk about Vegas? Woo! That'd be a huge party. What say you, Joseph?
Well, I just say I appreciate having the opportunity to come on live and keep it here on Zenny 62 for more informative news and more entertainment news. And just on my end, I'll do a episode 5 review that probably be posted either later tonight or early tomorrow.
Yeah, we gotta get Jessica on and get more involved in entertainment. And there's somebody else I want to bring in. We'll talk about that later. All right, gentlemen, don't go anywhere, but I'm gonna end the broadcast. You all can stick around, but hold on a second. Folks, thank you all very much. We'll be back tomorrow night. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com and Zenny62.com. All right, I'll see you all. Thanks again. And live long and prosper.